From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, August the 16th, 2024. The White House released a statement today from the United States, Egypt, and Qatar after the second day of talks concluded today in Doha. The talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire hostage release agreement between Israel and terror group Hamas. The statement read in part that the United States, with support from Egypt and Qatar, presented to both parties today a bridging proposal that is consistent with the principles laid out by President Biden in May. That bridges, it said, remaining gaps in the manner that allows for a swift implementation of the deal, saying that working teams will continue technical work over the coming days on the details of implementation, including specifics relating to hostages, and saying that talks will reconvene in Cairo before the end of next week with the aim to conclude the deal under the terms put forward today. The statement stressing it is time to release the hostages and detainees, begin the ceasefire, and implement this agreement. The IDF continues to battle Hamas in Gaza and issued evacuations to new humanitarian zones from certain parts of Gaza that have become too dangerous for civilians. The IDF said, pointing to numerous acts of terrorism, the exploitation of the humanitarian space for terrorist activity, and the firing of anti-aircraft missiles at the State of Israel in the neighborhoods north of Khan Yunis. The IDF saying the early warning is carried out in order to reduce the damage to the civilian population and keep them away from the combat area. The IDF also continues to defend the northern border with Lebanon amid rocket attacks from terror group Hezbollah. Today, the IDF said drone attacks as well, saying two suspicious aerial targets were identified that crossed from Lebanese territory towards the area. One was intercepted, the other fell in an open area, causing a fire, but no injuries. The IDF continues to respond to the attacks from Hezbollah, hitting terrorists and terror infrastructure. Well, the IDF opened a joint investigation together with Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, and Israel police into an attack last night on a Palestinian village in the West Bank, carried out by a group of right-wing Jewish Israeli extremists. Dozens of whom, the IDF said, entered the village of Jit in Samaria, set fire to vehicles and buildings in the village, threw stones and threw Molotov cocktails. A Palestinian man was said to have been killed in the attack. IDF forces said they arrived at the scene and dispersed the attackers, condemning the incident, saying it condemns events of this type and the rioters who harm security, law and order, and divert the IDF and the security forces from their main mission of thwarting terrorism and protecting the security of the residents. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the attack and said those responsible for any criminal act will be caught and prosecuted. Israel's President Isaac Herzog saying this is not our way, and certainly not the way of Torah and Judaism. He said law enforcement officials must act immediately against this serious phenomenon and bring the lawbreakers to justice. Tomorrow, Saturday night, Israelis will once again gather in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv to call for a deal and for the return of the 115 hostages who remain held in captivity by Hamas in Gaza now for 315 days. With tomorrow's gathering against the backdrop of the last 2 days of talks in Qatar, being held under the banner, Bring Back the Hostages, Bring Back Hope. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, August the 16th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue. followed by Shabbat Services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, Justin Pines sits down with singer Noah Aronson just ahead of his exclusive concert for JBS Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, Let There Be Love, in celebration of Tu B'Av, the Jewish holiday of love. Then at 9:30, Abigail Pogrebin is joined by rabbi and author David Seth Kirschner. At 10, it's Defending Israel with David Harris. At 10:30, a replay of the services from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, a look at this week's Torah Portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, August the 16th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.